All right, we are right back at you. This is the DC Stewart Show Podcast featuring my co-hosts and kinfolk, Isaiah, along with Najee. Najee's not with us today. He's away on assignment, but he will be back with us early Monday morning to recap the sports weekend. We had the first part of our show. We talked a lot about the up and downs of Antonio Brown, who was an ex-wide receiver, NFL All-Pro, and he's facing charges in Miami. He has been extradited from UAE, which is Dubai, and he is on his way back to Miami if he is not already arrived in Miami. They moved him from Dubai to New Jersey, and then he, did not fight extradition. So he's going to be on his way back to Miami if he's not already made it back. We wish Antonio Brown well, how we kind of ended our first part of our show, that we hope that brother can recover and get his life together and, be a father for his children, because he does have kids, and we wish him the best. So we were talking about some earlier topics, and some of the topics I want to kind of recap that we talked about earlier, and let's look at the topics, because we did cover the first three topics for sure, and that was one from Woodrow Lowe, and there was one from, basically it was two topics. So one for Woodrow Lowe, who was the ex-linebacker of the San Diego Chargers, who is now the Los Angeles Chargers, and we talked about Antonio Brown. So let's move on to topic number 4, which is our Annie Brown topics of the week, and we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys rookie tragedy. A young man by the name of Marshawn Nealon passed away, and he took his own life, what was described as a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was a 23-year-old drafted out of Western Michigan and had been a rising star in the Cowboys rotation on defense, and it looks like he had interception, or was it a fumble return? I believe it was an interception, right? For a touchdown.
Made a touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a touchdown the week before.
No, it was the same week. It was a couple days after it was a Monday night game where he got that touchdown, and then he killed himself on Wednesday, I think it was.
Yeah. That's a sad state of affairs, and every country and around the world, we have a problem with mental health issues, and I'm not attributing that to this young man's demise and his death, but we have a lot of cases in this country now where there's mental health involved in a lot of things that's going on in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
we have to address that as human beings to help each other. We can't rely on the government to do it. We can't rely on the authority or the establishment to do it, whatever that may be. That could be state government, federal government, that could be local, or whatever you want to term it as or deem it as. The way we're going to get over this and start recovering and healing from some of these problems is you as an individual is going to have to take the lead if you can help someone go through who is going through a mental crisis, let's just say. And you help them whichever way you can. Sometimes you might not be able to physically help them. Sometimes you might not be able to be a counselor to them, but to be there for them, because sometimes all people need is somebody to talk to. I talk to people all the time, and I had a young lady about a year ago, and she broke down and she said that she just didn't have anybody to talk to. And sometimes that helps, and that could help a person overcome some of the things that they're going through in their life. I would hope and pray, because I've had my ups and downs in my life. Isaiah's had ups and downs in his life. We've had a support mechanism around both of us that help us get through those things. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, or it could be even a stranger that can help you sometimes. If you feel like you're going through something and you don't feel like you want to live anymore, I would suggest you seek help. And if you are around someone like that, I suggest you get them help, however, whichever way you can. And that's, to me, is a really tragedy to see a young man work his way all the way up throughout the high school to the college level, and then he get to the pros, and then he takes his own life. That to me is very troubling. Wouldn't you say so, Isaiah?
Oh man, how unfortunate this is, DC. You talking about a guy just had a beautiful game, but you don't ever understand what's going on with someone. My father always taught me and my brothers and my sister that you never know what's going on in the mind of a person. And that's why you got to treat people with love and dignity and respect, because you don't know what people are going through and the things are people facing. You know, you got a guy who just finished a beautiful game, something that is entertaining, something that's people are loving and supporting this game, especially with the America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And 2 days later, the guy just takes his own life. So we never know these inner demons that people have going on in their mind and the crisis that they're going through. And, people that's around these folks need to encourage them to seek some professional help. There's nothing wrong with it. Some folks shy away from getting help because it's going to deem them as being crazy or they're weak or none of this. That has nothing to do with any of this, because those issues can happen to the best and the brightest of anybody when it comes to mental problems and something where you're stressed out, you don't know how to work through things. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be so many aspects of your life where it makes you feel like you don't no longer want to be around, you don't want to live anymore, and you take your own life, man. And just the game wasn't good enough for this young man. It just an NFL player, an elite player. He went high in the draft last year. Is one of the best in the country to be drafted to the Dallas Cowboys, and all of a sudden he just no longer wanted to be here. So DC, this is important, and this is why people has to really take this serious. This matter has to be serious, man. They got to look at this thing serious. This is nothing different from the kid who walk inside of a school and just mow down his classmates because they're going through a crisis, don't know how to deal with it, act out. The only thing is this guy just say, I'm not hurting anybody else, I'm going to take myself out. There's a kid who was streaming on this site I seen the other day. He said he was being bullied, and people just don't know how important it is to work to seek and to treat these people that's going through these crises, man. Because I just watched this thing, and folks that loved this man, whether it was former coaches, thought he was a beautiful human being, had no idea he was facing this type of situation in his life and to take his own life. And what a sad commentary, man, to endure this, to think that, wow, somebody as big as strong as he is didn't know how to cope with his own inner self and just opted to just go ahead and end it all.
Mm-hmm.
So DC is important for people to really show some importance and a sense of urgency to do something about this issue of mental illness. And this is important because it just don't happen with kids or weak people or folks that it's happening all over the world where people are really not understanding how to deal with situations, and they just want to end it all or either create something where they're lashing out, where you go shoot up somebody else because you can't deal with it. So
Right.
I think we got the leaders, the government need to pay some close attention and put the resources and get the scientists and test these people and give them treatment. So this stuff can they can start understanding what folks are going through, because this young man took his own life because something that he was going through, he just didn't know how to deal with it. So that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, well stated. Mental health illness is real. Most people who don't understand what mental health illness can come in all different types of faces or ways that it could show up in a person's life. It could be a tragedy. A person lost a loved one in their family, and they're still trying to cope with that. It could be a situation where they were traumatized throughout their life, or when they were young, or at some point in their life when they were traumatized. And some people never really can get over some of these things that happen to them. And you, as a person, as a friend, or as a family member, or as someone who can step to them, even though you might even be a stranger, and you see someone that's in dire straits or need, you need to try to reach out and help these people, even if you have to call on their behalf. Call someone to contact them to try to help them. Because a lot of times you could contribute and help save a person's life if they're thinking like this young man, Marshawn Nealon, was thinking. We don't know what was in his mind, but we feel devastated that he made it to the point where he made it in his life, and then he took his own life. All we have to say is our condolences go out to his family, and our condolences go out to his friends and people who knew him very well. Our condolences is there for you. And if you ever want to come talk to us about it, we'll be more than happy to listen. And by the way, to make a correction to how he scored his touchdown, it was a blocked punt for a recovery for a touchdown. I just looked that up, by the way. So let's move on to this next topic, and we're going to be talking about Erik Spoelstra. Erik Spoelstra is the head coach of the Miami Heat, which is the NBA basketball team based in Miami. When I was growing up in Miami, Miami did not have a basketball team. They had a professional football team, but they didn't even have a professional baseball team back then. They didn't have a professional basketball team. I believe football, college football, and professional football were the only two sports that was pretty much front and forward in Miami. Am I right, Isaah, or was there another sport?
No, if I can remember correctly, it was only those two. Yeah.
Was it hockey? I mean, because I know the Florida Panthers, is that a pretty new franchise as well?
Yes, it is. They didn't have hockey. Wayne Heisinger brought hockey, and of course he had part of the Marlins too. So they didn't have neither one when you were here. They just had the Dolphins, and the Miami Heat came shortly after. And both of these franchises, all of them are fairly new comparison to the old ones like the Knicks and the Celtics and all that. The Miami Heat is fairly a new franchise if you look at it from a longevity perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one thing is for sure, Erik Spoelstra house a day or so ago burned to the ground. And it was one of those type of situations where when a house or a building or anything catches fire, it really depends on what type of fire you're talking about, what kind of fire you're dealing with, because all fires are not the same. Some of these fires that you see on TV, like in movies and stuff, those fires could be altogether different. They have electrical fires, they have chemical fires, they have, plastic and paper fires and cardboard fires. Each fire has to be fought differently. And the fire department is well trained for that. People who are trained in fires, whether it's a fire department official or a fireman or a firewoman or whatever the case may be, you have to be specifically and specially trained in how to fight certain fires. Wildfires. Wildfires is the most deadliest fire I can ever imagine. And they just happened here in Los Angeles back in April when we had Pacific Palisades. The majority of Pacific Palisades burned to the ground.
Yeah.
But that was more so a natural weather fire, I was told. And at least they said that there was allegations that a electrical line from one of the electric companies here could have been potentially the source for that fire. And then I've read other stories where that fire was it could have been started by arsonists. And an arsonist is a person who set a fire somewhere. You know, whether it's with a match, whether it's with a cigarette lighter, or whatever the case may be. Arson is a crime. Arsonists should be locked up. They have no business in society, because when you set purpose on purpose, when you set a fire on purpose and set to burn something, you need to be locked up. That's all I can say about that. Now, it looks as though early Thursday morning at approximately 4:36 on November 6th, a massive fire broke out at Spoelstra's home in the Ponce de Leon or Ponce Davis, Coral Gables area of Miami-Dade County. Looks like firefighters responded with 20 fire units and described seeing flames as tall as trees. To me, that's an indicator of a very large fire. Isaah, can you help us understand what you know about that fire, because you're based there in Miami?
I mean, just judging all fires, and they still doing investigations on this fire. But the way I looked at it, the way it seems to me, it looked like somebody set that fire. It looked like an arsonist did this fire, because the response of the first responders here in Miami-Dade County and the surrounding areas, they're fast, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're the best in the world here, and the response is super, super fast and quick, and they are trained well to put out fires like this. But for Spoelstra's house to burn all the way down to the ground. I mean, his roof caved in and all of it was down. It was a shell. I mean, it was nothing left. I mean, I can imagine the memorabilia and the memories and all the sentimental things that he's got in his house is not, perishable. He can't relive that. I mean, the good part about this, he was not there. He was at a game. His family member is not there. And I think he's got two kids, but, none of his kids was there. Nobody was at the home, but to see this house burn so severely, and then the trees was tarped off, and his neighbors, it was never affect anybody else but his house. So it looks like it was a planned arsonist did this house. That's just only, I'm saying this because of the way it burned. And it looks like those California fires that was in there where they charred those houses all the way down to the
Oh
ground,
yeah, all
DC.
the way to the
It
ground.
looked
And
like
there's
that.
some fires
It,
still on PCH and Pacific Coast Highway. When I drive by there, these homes have burned to the concrete. It's just only some parts of the concrete still showing, but
that's
that's
exactly
it.
what's here. That's what's going on with Spoelstra's house. It burned everything wood down. Everything that was wood, it was burnt. He's got the concrete shell that's still there. Everything else is burned down, man. You imagine the things that he had in his career
Oh,
probably was in
sentimental
that house
things,
that you grew up. Yeah,
trophies, family portraits.
pictures, all of that stuff,
Oh
man.
man, you cannot
All of it. I
imagine
mean,
how many things that are so personable to someone, or individuals inside of an establishment, of a house or a
yeah,
building, and then you lose all of that. It's devastating. I think it's devastating.
it
Because you can't
is
get those
because
things back. You can get
yeah,
the
one
insurance will
thing.
make a payment, and you'll get the insurance coverage money, and you'll build a new house. But you can't get back that family catalog. You can't get back the photos
Yeah,
of your kids when they were
yeah,
children
yeah,
and things like
yeah.
that.
You see, even the things which you probably consider come back those pictures up, those things probably burn down too, man. It just to look at the house, man. Spolster just looked really devastated, man, and rightfully so. But on the flip side of that, man, I mean, I like Erik Spoelstra a lot, man, and
I
he's
do too.
always been a guy who does so much for this community here, man. He's always doing charitable things. I've seen him at birthday parties for, you know, like all the folks that's in the organization where he couldn't have been there. He could have just said, "I'm doing something else. It's too important for me to be doing something else." But Erik Spoelstra showed up. His communities that's poverty stricken, he go to the parks. He go to all these different things that align himself with this city, and he's doing it. And I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
The outpour of the folks in the colleges and the NBA, man, is enormous. And I think that really sunk down in his soul to see how many people called him to, wish him well and to give him condolences, because this is a huge tragedy when you lose something like this, man. I mean, it ain't just like something that you can just blow over. You're
Right.
talking about years and years and years of things was in that house where he was a kid, and now he's well into his 40s, and for a career as long as he's been, that even the head coach, he's one of the longest tenure of head coaching. It just seemed like he just got there, and he's been coaching the Miami Heat longer than a lot of coaches that's in the NBA.
Right.
And he's love. I mean, the Miami Heat organization love him. They just fatten him up with a beautiful contract that's like everlasting. And you just don't do that to a person that you don't love and respect. And that's what their Miami Heat organization with Mickey Harris and Pat Riley and all those guys, they really like him. And that's a family. I watch how they organization take care of the people that's genuine. And
Mm-hmm.
Erik Spoelstra in that tiny little circle of Mickey Harrison, his son, Pat Riley, Alonzo Mourning, Haslam, all of those guys are family, man, and they tighten it and they look out for each other. And to see him going through this, I know these guys had his back, and they're gonna he'll build himself a beautiful house to get back that type of thing. But the memories of the stuff that he lost is the stuff that he probably will never ever be able to replace. Yeah.
So it looks like he was nestled. It was two buildings on his property, and it looks like he was nestled amongst a bunch of trees. Now, I'm not saying the trees have anything to do with the fire starting. From your assessment of it, with the house and the other building on his property burning to the ground. Normally, my understanding, because I was experienced with fighting certain types of fires due to the fact that I worked around a bunch of chemicals and things of that sort. I mean, a fire like that usually engulfs an area if it's got fuel, and a fire only has to have fuel when whichever type of fuel we're talking about. We're talking about wind. We could be talking about dry conditions with high gusts of wind can help fuel a
Those
fire,
wasn't the case,
especially
DC.
forest fires and things of that
No,
sort.
that's not the case, DC. And we're not talking about a rural fire. We're talking about a thing that happened on his property alone. You got to
Okay.
remember something. Eric's supposed to live in a ritzy area where it's upscale folks, and he ain't the only rich person around there. The area is got some really wealthy folks living in there, and
Mm-hmm.
the mere fact that to see his house burn down to the ground in his house only don't look like it was a mistake. It looked like somebody planned this thing and they targeted him and they pulled it off, and it just looked ugly and heinous the way this thing went down. And for have two buildings there, it looks ugly, DC, and there's no way to put it when you look at these pictures of how severe that fire was, man. And thank God nobody was in there. So if you look at how it charred the trees, it didn't go to nobody else's house, it just got his.
Yeah, that's
The
very
one
sad.
thing that was good too, DC, he lived on a corner. It was a corner lot, so it was no house on the other side of his. So that was a good, fortunate thing in that case. But other than that, it's just, man, it looked like a chemical fire where somebody might have put a cocktail in there or something, man. It
Mm-hmm.
just, to me, it just looked really like it was a setup fire. Somebody might have targeted him and did that.
Yeah, it looks like he's just
We'll see how
received
that
overwhelming support though from his family. I'm
support.
looking at him
Man, he's a
here with his
good
three
guy. That's
kids.
what happens when you go through something.
It looks like the NBA has supported him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the teams have called him. I mean, it's
Across the
just
board, bro.
overwhelming across the board
Yeah.
support, not just from
Mm-hmm.
even basketball. Other
No.
sports coaches
Yeah.
and things have reached out to him to show their support. That's what this is about. That's what this is about, to help someone overcome such a devastating tragedy to their life, because this is a tragedy. And luckily enough, he wasn't home. Luckily enough, none of his family members was home, and he can get some of the things back by building another home. But once again, some of the sentimental things and it was most important to him, he might not be able to get back. But I would just like to say this. They have actually, I mean, it's just so many good people around the world, and it's just so many good people in this country alone. And usually when tragedy strikes, that's when people's hearts really open up. If it's a natural disaster, or if it's some type of disaster where a family home is burned to the ground, or anything some similar to that, someone in the family passes away, people show that type of support. We're happy that Erik Spoelstra have that support mechanism, that he can try to overcome some of these things. And I'm pretty sure, as you mentioned earlier, if they have fire investigators, which to me are even more sophisticated than even detectives, crime police for
They're going to get down
detectives,
to the bottom of this, DC.
they will find the lighter. If it was a lighter there, or if, fragments of a lighter, or any kind of chemical that was involved that did help fuel this fire or start this fire, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to find out some of the things to help during an investigation. Wouldn't you say so?
Of course, they're going to have these investigators working around the clock to narrow the situation down. There's going to be no stone unturned to find out what was the cause of this fire. That's without a doubt.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we wish Erik Spoelstra well from this show, and we hope you can get, recovered and recoup some of the things in your life that you want to recoup that's you can recoup, and we hope you can, and we're going to be praying for you and your family. So let's move on to this next topic, and we're going to be talking a little bit about, let me go back up to my topics list here. So we were talking about, got a little bit pressed behind here. Let's talk about Mark Sanchez, who was an announcer. He was a sports analyst for Fox Sports. And Mark Sanchez, he played football at USC. He was a good quarterback when he was at SC. He ended up playing for the Jets for many years, where he was a high draft pick in the NFL draft. And it looks as though he was released from Fox. Now, we had this conversation about a month ago. Let's just say right when the incident that Mark Sanchez was involved in Indianapolis, I was having reservations that Fox was going to release him, and you didn't have any. So I have to give you props and credit that you predicted it all the way down. You and Najee predicted it all the way down to the wire that they were going to part company with him because they don't need the negative press. What do you think about Fox officially parting company from Mark Sanchez due to the fact that supposedly, allegedly, he beat up this older man in an alley over where the man was parked, which was none of his business, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for the old man, he was injured during the scuffle, and Mark Sanchez was injured during the scuffle. But just because Fox lets this go in terms of them releasing Mark Sanchez, he's still going to have to pay he's still going to have to be accountable to this incident. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely. What's getting ready to happen is he worked for Fox, right?
He worked for Fox Sports.
He works for Fox Sports. Fox Sport is on the hinges for him. They're going to be held accountable for his actions because he worked for them. They sent him out there to cover a game. So that means they're on the hook for all of his behavior. So now I've always thought he was a jackass anyway, and it also proved it. This is a punk who cannot handle alcohol because he claimed he was drinking and all of this, and he go jump on an old innocent guy who was out there trying to do his job. This is a situation where this guy probably was barely making ends meet. He was a truck driver, and you get an idiot come down there, a rich fool, stupid fool, beat up this man and put him in the hospital, and now he's facing the consequences of it, of going to jail, and he then lost his job. So he's an idiot. So now it's just sad because the network can't even trust him to go do a damn job and go back home. You go out there and get in a scuffle with a guy who just going through a situation where he was doing his job. Guy was just working. He minding somebody else's business and then beat this old man up, put him in the hospital. So Fox is doing exactly what they should have done to part ways with him because he's an idiot who's out there bringing attention, a negative attention to their network. So they did the right thing to get rid of him, but they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to pay. You just don't know how many attorneys are doing like the silk, wishing that phone call come to them on the behalf of this gentleman who got severely beat down because of him. And not only that, he sustained some injuries himself. He was in the
Yeah,
hospital
he was
himself.
stabbed a few times, allegedly stabbed by the old man. Because according to the old man's, he quoted that he thought that Mark Sanchez was going to kill him, could potentially kill him over this situation.
Like he was going to die.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man.
We have talked time and time again, and we talk, Isaah and myself, we talk every day. So we talk about things like this. If it's something that's not directly impacting you, you need to keep moving. I mean, you need to keep on moving and don't get yourself involved in things, even if you're drinking, because I know you got different types of people who drink. Some can get violent when they drink. Some are really happy and jovial when they drink, and they just, they laugh and they have a good time. If you are witnessing something, let's just say you're walking down the street and you witness someone illegally parked. I don't think it's your business to even confront that person about that, in my opinion, because in this day and age, when you confront people instantly turn defensive. No matter how you confront them, you can be nice to them. You can walk up and say, look, you parked in a spot, you might get a ticket or you might get your car towed. Some people would take it as a, trying to help them, and other people will be like looking at you like, why are you worried about it? Right? So my suggestion to people is, unless you see something heinous going on, like somebody getting beat down to a pulp, or someone's getting assaulted to the level that you need to call the police, I would suggest you make the call and take notes and witness what you're going to witness and keep moving. Wouldn't you say so, Isaah?
Yeah, yeah. I people who cannot handle their drinking, they need not drink. And if they do in the comfort of your hotel room, of you on an outing, or do it at your home. Because as old as he is, he know his reaction and what triggers him after he started drinking. So he was just an immature fool to be out in the street drinking. That right there alone is a situation where it's public intoxication. You don't supposed to be out in the public when you're intoxicated. You freaking messing with people it's just like if you got drunk and you went down the street just yelling with the top of your voice and acting a fool and lashing out at people that's a charge right there. You're disturbing the peace. In public intoxication, you can get hit with that case too. But the fact that you got in an altercation and then got in a brawl, a physical altercation with somebody, this guy looked frail and fragile, and you beat this guy up, and then you got yourself hurt as well.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, man. DC,
Yeah.
and if you look at Mark Sanchez, it just he looked like a little clean cut guy who wouldn't hurt an ant.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you get that drink in you, then all of a sudden your chest stick out and you got all of this courage that you wouldn't normally have. I mean, he was a little punk to go mess with this guy and beat this guy and then injure this guy. And so you imagine this man laying up in the hospital now, he can't work, and his family probably need that income coming in. They're gonna get some now, but it's just reprehensible to see this guy get beat up just going to do his job.
Yeah.
And here is a nutcase who cannot handle his alcohol go out there and injure this guy so severely. And those pictures from the hospital bed, it was breathtaking to see this man sustain these type of injuries from somebody who should have just mind their own business and just gone about their business and left this man alone. I mean, no matter what he and how he parked, if you had an issue with it, won't you call some authorities to make the guy move, or either someone who will cite him and take it, that because that's what their job is. It's not your job to make a person move. So he got
Absolutely.
himself in trouble and lost his job and his career for nothing. And it looked like he's going to face some jail time if all goes well with the prosecution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a potential that he could. And I'll say this once again because I like to try to give people the best advice I can give them, whether you are a civilian or just a person walking around, even security officers. Like you see these security officers at these grocery stores, you see these security people who are working in parking lots, you see these security people. They aren't technically, a lot of these security people are not certified law enforcement people that get the proper training to be able to deal with incidences like this, right? So if you have someone who does not have a peace officer safety training certificate, your best bet, let's just say you're in security and you witness something, your job is to observe and make a call. You'll see some security officers wearing firearms, which, they get certified to wear the firearm. But if you are a security or a regular civilian walking around anywhere you walk, or it could be inside of a place, observe and make the call and have the proper authorities come deal with it because they're trained to deal with these type of situations. However, when you have alcohol involved, there's a potential for anything bad to happen. A lot of cities don't even allow alcohol to be served on Sundays. Atlanta was one of them. I mean, most of Georgia, I believe. There are states that don't allow alcohol to be served after 12 midnight on Saturday and the like, right? Because they're trying to head off some of these disasters that could potentially happen with situations like this. He had no business going down that alley, even confronting that man about parking anywhere. I've seen people park here. I walk by, I see them park. That's on them for the most part. Now, if I see a situation where somebody's getting physically assaulted, I'll observe and make the call. That's what my job is to do as a citizen in this country. When you say,
Yeah, you just try to stay away. I mean, verbally, you may could tell them to cut it out, especially when you're talking about someone that clearly taking advantage of somebody who's as frail and small like this guy was. And even if it's a woman, you see a woman getting, abused by a man, and you just want to intervene and try to stop them, and then you call. You just don't go in there and start messing with stuff because what if you get yourself killed? You can get
you
shot.
could potentially get killed. especially
Yeah,
in
but
domestic
so
disputes. Domestic disputes
domestic
between,
disputes,
that's the most dangerous of all of them, even for
yeah,
trained
and
law
chances
enforcement
are,
officers.
most of the time when you see people are acting out like that, they're doing it at home and they're still together, and you get yourself involved in that, and 5 days later they're back together, and you sitting up in court trying to defend the woman, and then she's back with the abuser. So it's best to just call authorities, let them handle it, and you just get in
Exactly.
your car and take off and go on about your business. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's move on to the next topic and let's talk a little bit about the University of Miami. The University of Miami, Florida. They won big today. They won
Hmm.
big, and it was long overdue because
Yes.
my disappointment with this team
Ah,
was we were all thinking that they were on track to be able to run the table in the ACC, go to the ACC championship, win that
yep.
game, and be in the top seed in the college football playoff layout. However, that didn't happen like that. Louisville came in there and took care of business, and it looks like SMU took care of business as well. What was your takeaway from this Miami win today? Because there's a lot of happy people in Miami, the fan base and the people who support the University of Miami. And I have to say, props out the Freebird Tony, because he's one of the people that, along with us, we believe truly that we want this team to be great. We want this team to be dominant like they were in 2001 when they were playing that Ohio State game, when they had Sean Taylor and Ken Dorsey and Willis McGahee and all of those superior athletes that they had. It looks like they won big today, but it was against Syracuse. Now they got NC State coming up next week. What is your takeaway from today, and what do you think they need to do to handle NC State at home next week?
Well, I said this in the beginning of the season how proud I was of them because they were doing things that they should have done years ago when they were losing. They were game tackling, they were catching the ball like ballerinas. They were doing all the necessary things to help the quarterback. If he's got in trouble, they will come back. They'll when it came to a run, they were downfield blocked. They would sustain their blocks, and they just was doing so many good things. Special teams too. They were catching the ball and running it back on punts and then kicking field goal, long field goal. It was like every aspect of the game was like
Mm-hmm.
at the top level.
Absolutely.
And then they got those bye weeks and just fell apart, DC. I mean, that's why I can't stand bye weeks. It gives you
And they
that
had
extra
two bye
added
weeks
week.
this year, which was a little bit
Yes.
odd because normally most teams
Yes.
have one bye week. So
One.
the
They
bye
had
week
two.
that they had to prepare, I believe, for Louisville, you would think they would have been good and ready for Louisville. And Louisville came in and pretty much did what they wanted to them. I don't
They
even
couldn't.
think
They
they ever
didn't
led
ignore
in
it.
that
It was
game.
embarrassing. It was embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
That Louisville game was embarrassing. The SMU game, they should have won that one too, and it was a competitive game, more close game. But they shouldn't have lost neither one of those games. They should have been sitting around number one or number two and undefeated because they got away from the things that brought them that undefeated portion of the season. They stopped doing it. They got rusty. They act like they didn't care. They didn't have that sense of urgency. They wasn't playing 4 quarters. I mean, they weren't making an adjustment during the halftime. I just don't understand because this team this year is one of the better teams, that
Yes.
they've had in the
We
years.
we I thought this team, with the talent that they had on this
Yeah,
team this year, was the year. And I
I
have to
thought it
man
was
up that
good.
I said that, look, they gonna run the table in the
I
ACC for
surely thought
sure.
so.
Yeah, and I
I
thought so as
surely thought
well.
so.
Yeah. So it looks like Miami won 38-10 over Syracuse. Now, Syracuse is currently 3-7, 1-6 in the ACC. Fran Brown got a whole bunch of problems of his own. Francis Brown is the head coach for Syracuse. He's got to turn that team around next year. Otherwise, they're going to be rumblings about him keep staying
Hmm.
there. Now,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the numbers right here, and it looks like Carson Beck. Carson Beck has been taking a lot of heat, by the way. I'm not going to come down hard on Carson Beck because a lot of the breakdowns in the pocket, and he made some bad decisions. Don't get that wrong and twisted. Carson Beck made some bad throws, especially against Louisville. I didn't see the SMU game, but when that pocket started to break down, his decision-making process broke down as well in certain instances, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And he didn't make good throws. He didn't throw to the check down receivers.
He was forcing balls in there, and
he was forcing a lot of balls, which I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of a little bit problematic. But it looks like he threw for 18 out of 24 for 247 yards and a TD today, 62.3 QBR. He had a pretty decent day today, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's a decent day, but we're looking at those losses. And those losses, I'm just thinking about how his play was in those lost games to DC. Remember, I was bragging on him in the early part of the season, how he would use his cadence and also how he would do his decoys and fakes and stuff. He wasn't doing that. Those games that he lost, he was not doing that. He would hand the ball off and watch the damn running back instead of carrying out his fake, going there and still fake like he's got the ball.
Right.
He got away from that. Don't you know how important that is to carry your face out? Because it makes the linebackers lock in on you, and he can't go in there and fill that hole when the running back is coming because you don't know whether you're getting ready to freaking drop into a pass position and deliver the ball. So it's a fundamental thing, DC. A fundamental thing. You just I'm gonna show you how much that fundamental thing works. You take BYU for instance. If you're gonna beat BYU, you just gonna have to beat the snot out of them because you're not gonna beat them on mistakes. They don't make mistakes.
True.
They're disciplined. And that's what happens to the Miami Hurricanes. You do stuff where you're not disciplined, you jump off sides, you give these people a first down because you're not watching the ball. I never understood how you could be a down lineman and jump off sides.
Because you're supposed to watch the ball, right? I mean, technically,
watch the damn ball, no matter what that quarterback say. It could be a hard count or what. How do you let him lure you to jump across that line when the ball is right in front of you?
That's true.
And you jump off sides? You undisciplined piece of crap. You jump off damn side. And then they've gotten balls blocked on punts. How you let a guy block your extra point or your punt? There's a way that you can never let anybody block your extra point or your punt. DC, we used to, when I was in high school, on an extra point, everybody on that down line put one foot in front of the other guy.
That is indeed correct. I was on special teams as well.
You could never get a guy to penetrate in that backfield by doing that and block your extra point. They could never get in. They need a Mack truck to blow through that line to get in there.
Right.
Because you're talking about two body weights to get through on each crease. You cannot get in there. We never had a person to block a kick ever. And I don't know why some of these fundamentals get lost by professionals. And I can say college is professional now because they're getting paid. So how in the world something so elementary like this is not being done? Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned college players are getting paid, and that leads me to this, and I'm kind of glad you mentioned that. There was rumblings last week. I was reading a lot of different articles on Miami and some of the problems that they were having with these two losses. I mean, Mario Cristobal was taking some serious heat. And you know how that Miami Herald is down there, and and Dan Lebitard and all of these people that follow that program religiously, of course, right?
Yeah.
These people they gonna give you the business. You gonna get the business, especially
He got
with
the
what
business,
Mario
man.
Cristobal, his
Yeah,
statue.
especially that first loss, they
That
was giving
first
him the business.
loss was
Yeah.
devastating for Mario Cristobal,
hmm
and you know how much I love Mario Cristobal, Coach Cristobal as I call him, and you've met him before, and you've sat down and talked with him as well.
hmm
I was reading some rumblings last week about whether Carson Beck deserved the NIL contract. And we've had this conversation about DJ Lagway in Florida, about some of the things that was happening to him at Florida. He wasn't measuring up in a lot of people's eyes. Do you think that's fair to Carson Beck to question his NIL contract because he didn't play well in those 2 games?
Nah, man. DC, you know how enormously happy I was when I started seeing these type of dollars that these kids can earn. I just love it. I love it
I do too. I
because
actually do.
these kids are risking everything, man, everything. And to trade off with the education, to me, it's never been enough. Because what are you going to do? And I'm not going to put any occupation down. I love teachers. I love engineering. I
Mm-hmm.
love law enforcement. These are the jobs that you can put there. If you're a lawyer, I love all of this stuff. And you can walk away with a law degree by getting a scholarship and going to these universities. But you're not getting ready to be a 19-year-old with a six figure, not well more than that now, $6 million contract every year. And you talking about here's a kid over in Texas, Manning,
You're talking about Arch
you
Manning.
know, Arch Manning was not even starting last year and was making 6 point something $1 million in his NIL. He wasn't getting a sniff on the football field and he was making millions. I have absolutely no problem with the fact that he's making all of this money, DC, because he still has to practice. He still has to put the work in, even though he didn't start. I don't care about that stuff. I'm looking at a man who's going out there day in and day out, playing in that heat, doing what he need to do to be on the team, going to class, getting his grades to stay up to standard. All of these things these kids got to do, and you trying to take away something that the college been pimping these kids out for years, man. And
Mm-hmm.
here it is now it's their turn to start making a little bit of crumbs or the salt off of a cracker, and that's what these kids still making. Dude, if you can pay, just look at the fact that they're coming up with all of these millions of dollars to fill the shoes of the Florida coach, to fill the shoes of the Penn State coach. They got to fill the shoes of LSU coach, and you don't want the players to make anything, and you worried about what they make, and these coaches are running to the bank. I mean, coaches who's not even coaching anymore. You fired the man, and he's still running to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And you worried about what the kids are making. Unbelievable. When you got his name on the back of your damn LSU jersey or your Penn or your Florida jersey, and you making all of these millions of dollars off of his name, but you don't want to give him any money to compensate him for it. I just think that's a freaking pimp game. That's what that
Okay,
is.
so here's what I'm saying though, and what I picked up, interpreted from these people was, and this doesn't just necessarily apply to Carson Beck, but they were saying that his on field performance, does it actually measure up or shape up for those 2 games? Should he is he not worth that much? That's the question. I think what you
DC,
said is true. I
DC.
think Carson Beck should continually get paid, and getting paid what he's paid. He makes about $4 million a year plus with his NIL. I don't think his NIL should be a precursor to measure him from 2 games. That's just the way I'm looking at it now. If he was stinking up the place the majority of the season, maybe that might be something that may be concerning to me. But I think he's done a great job since he's been there. He hadn't been perfect, but people are so quick to start judging whether a person deserves certain things, especially when it comes to salary and money, that they want to inject themselves that look, he don't deserve this amount of money because he lost to Louisville or he lost to SMU. He can't function under the pressure. That type of thing.
DC, you know damn well how pissed off I was for him. I was so mad at him.
I wasn't happy with him either, but I'm still not going to throw him under the bus.
No, but you remember something, DC? I have never said anything about how much money he's making. Never.
Exactly. Nor did I.
I would not.
Yes.
Deshaun Watson. With the
Deshaun Watson?
Deshaun Watson. Now listen to me and hear me out. This dude is the luckiest football player on the face of the earth. He is the catalyst for starting his guaranteed money. And the Cleveland Browns just drove on his front lawn and just toppled a dump truck of money on his driveway. And you would never hear me say anything derogatory of how much money he's making. Jerry Jones has spoke out about it because he don't feel like the guy's worth it. And now he's going to always get these kids who come in over there and say, well, I won't guarantee money. I have no problem with that because these folks are making all of this money that we don't have any clue of how much they're making. And they always messing with the little men because these players in the NFL and college, they're the lowest of low on the totem pole. And you worried about the millions of dollars that they're making? Just think about all the money that these universities and these owners are making. Before the game even start, they get the TV rights money, they get money from the memorabilia. You just think about this, DC. Michael Irvin has not ran a route for Jerry Jones in how many years? And they're still selling his damn jersey over there with the Cowboys, making money off
and
of
one
it.
of the hottest selling jerseys for the Cowboys as well.
And that's my point. And then you got the parking when you go to a game. You got the food that's out of the stratosphere, the cotton candy, all of this stuff that they make behind the scenes that these players don't have access to. That is not theirs. It's the owners. And you worry about the little peanuts that these guys are making. It's just enormous of hypocrisy that they have.
Well, they don't call Deshaun Watson's contract peanuts. They call that an outlier type of contract where Jimmy Haslam just had he was feeling good when he woke up that day and guaranteed all that money, $200 million guaranteed money to Deshaun Watson.
Well,
so I don't have any problem with it either, but it's more of an outlier type of contract. Every player is not going to get a contract like that in the NFL. You could forget it. And Jerry Jones is the one to tell you he is not going to guarantee that kind of money to anyone. You see what happened with Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons had to get up out of there to get his money, get his bag.
Yeah, but DC is what I'm saying to you, man. And I don't have an issue with these guys making this kind of money. I do not. Because they can wind up like Antonio Brown in terms of a freaking mental case.
Right.
And people don't talk about that. You're talking about players who walk with a limp now. You're talking about look what happened just a few weeks ago with Tyreek, some of the freakiest accident in the world. And then look over here with the Heisman Trophy winner with Hunter is out for the season. People don't take in consideration the mere fact that it could be a physical issue, it could be a mental issue. This game is brutal.
It's a brutal game.
Brutal, and you worried about what these guys are making. I do not care how much money they make because this game is beloved by me. I love it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to freaking start demonizing the players who's capitalizing off a game that everybody else is making billions off of these owners, making billions from this game. And these players get their little chips, and you're going to complain? Not me. I'm not. Because I played, you played, we understand the injuries that you can sustain. It ain't got to be the one that puts you out for the season. It's that year in and year out nagging injury that can always haunt you forever, where now you got a limp.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get these massive headaches. Or
look
you
at
might
Earl
have
Campbell. Earl Campbell
arthritis.
didn't make any money. I mean, not even anywhere close to what they're making now. And Earl Campbell, if you saw him in person, I mean, he walks with a cane and everything else. And he's an older man, but still,
Exactly.
football took a toll on his body that is just unimaginable for people to be able to not know what football can do to a person over time, even a short time. It doesn't even have to be a long time. It's just such a dangerous game because you have people crashing into each other.
DC, look at how they altered the kickoff now, because you got a guy who's running 20 miles an hour down the damn field, and he collide bodies with another guy on the other side. You can get knocked out cold.
For sure.
There's not enough technology and equipment to prevent you from getting a head injury if you hit yourself the right way or hit somebody the right way, or turn and cut the wrong way, and you twist your ankle or your Achilles, and you're done. You just look at what happened to Michael Irvin, what cut his career short. He had a neck injury. Even Peyton Manning, the great Peyton Manning, he had a neck injury where he had to leave the country to get surgery to be able to play. So people need to back off of these guys, man, and understand this game that we all love is a brutal game, and people can get their life. You can die. You run into somebody head on, you can freaking die.
That's true.
So it's just, I don't have a problem with the money that they're making.
I don't either. No. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because they did bring up the fact that Carson Beck was earning that kind of NIL, and they've talked about other players. Like I say, DJ Lagway, even Arch took some heat. I don't think they ever mentioned his NIL contract, but it's just unfortunate that, people resort to those type of things when things are not working out. Because, there are several podcasts in Miami right now that they are extremely hard on everyone on that Miami team for losing those 2 games, and things happen. Things are going to happen. Football is just so unpredictable which direction things may go in. And it looks like they got back on track today. So I'm really happy to hear that. It looks like Malachi Tony had a pass 1-on-1 for 14 yards for a touchdown. He threw a touchdown to somebody. And it looks like Shannon Dawson went into his his toolbox today, and he got out some extra plays to be able to put that thing on Syracuse because
to the lineman, and the lineman scored number 61.
Yeah. And they got some really solid linemen as well. So where do you see them going in the next 2 weeks? I do have the college playoff bracket right now if they were to start playing right now, and some of the teams have been already slotted in, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But where do you think Miami's going to make it, or they're just going to be in a bowl game this year? What's your prediction on that?
They're just going to go to a decent bowl game. They're not going too far else. You're talking about a team that's went all the way to 18. They're my team. But they're too far up the ladder now. They're not. You listen, DC. When they were at 10, I was sitting at the edge of my chair because I knew just the way those guys who put together this situation lean toward when it comes to Miami. You got to be a good Miami team to get anything significant, because they're going to try to downplay your season, not to do what's right. We got a championship took away from us before back in the day.
Well, don't even start with that, because you just going to get me worked up with that championship. You're talking about that Ohio State game? Yes. Oh, man, you finna get me worked up. Yes. I can't even think about that game, Because that game
Yep.
haunts me even to this day.
Yep.
That call.
So that's what I'm saying, DC. They're 18 or somewhere in that area. They're not going anything. They're not going to no champion. They're not getting the playoff. They're going to just play a good, decent bowl game, and then they're just going to have to salvage the season and get ready for next year and hope that they don't lose these games that they should win. They got to win out. They can't depend on nobody to do anything for you. You can't be looking for somebody else to lose and all this kind of crap. You just got to go out there and handle your own business and control your own destiny, and that's how you stay in the driver's seat. So they're going to be a team that had a decent season, and they're going to go to a good bowl game, and that's the size of it this year. That's it.
So it looks like you brought up BYU about how disciplined that team is and how well they play and don't make mistakes. Well, they faced off against Texas Tech today, and they got it handed to them because they met a team that was complete in all areas of the football game, from offense to defense to special teams. And BYU didn't have an answer for Texas Tech today, and that's another thing too. Texas Tech is going to be a force to be dealt with, just like Texas A&M, because Texas A&M right now, and Mike Elko could easily be slotted in as maybe a coach of the year as well for what he's done at Texas A&M, because I haven't seen a coach come along technically since Kevin Sumlin took over that first year when he had Johnny Football there, and they were able to win a lot of football games, right? But once Jimbo that got there, Jimbo did so okay the first year, and then everything started going downhill from that point on. Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that on Miami, because man, they mean so much to us, and we want to see them do well. So, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. And since we're on the subject of coaches, we mentioned Mario Cristobal. What do you think about all the heat that Coach Prime is catching right now?
Well, Prime is in the doghouse, man. The Prime is in the doghouse.
What do you think can get him out of the doghouse? Winning?
That's the only way he got in there. That's winning. That's how he got in the doghouse, man. Listen, man. 2 years ago, Prime was soaring like an eagle. I mean, gliding. He had rappers there, entertainers, former players there. The city of Boulder was just bringing open arms, hugging the kiss on both cheeks.
Off the chart.
Everything was there. It was everything there. It was the best thing that you could happen to a brand new coach who was in a facility that was in turmoil, and he turned that thing around with his Gucci bags that he brought over there. But the Gucci bags is gone now. His sons should do Shallow and then Hunter. He don't have those type of playmakers anymore, and he don't have any leaders on the team. He gained, some decent coaches over there with Warren Sapp, and then he's got a great staff. I think he's got a great staff. He got Marshall Falk over there coaching on the offense too, and I just like to see them do well. But right now, it's just seemed like his personal life took a toll on the team severely. And what I mean by that is his absence, his words of his voice. And it just seemed like it's not resonating to these kids like it was those 2 years back. And he was just so exciting. His team was electric. They'll score with a drop of a dime, or the defense will take away with Hunter being so swift and quick and break on the ball and get an interception. He don't have any of those type of players, DC. I see these players are just going through the motion. The quarterback that he has now, he plays good in spurts, man. I think he's got really good legs. He can tuck the ball and run, but he don't have the receivers. His protection is not there. He's running for his dear life most of the time. and the team is just like not organized. They're not on the same page. They're not doing their jobs. It's just so many penalties they have. They're undisciplined. It's a bunch of stuff that's going on, and this just leads right back to the head coach. And now you have the fans are doing interviews and they express the way they feel about Prime. It's important to see that he understands what these people are feeling, because he gonna have to really, really get down in that portal and start bringing in some superstar players in there and some ones who's ready to go, and they're gonna bust their rear end on his behalf. Otherwise, it's gonna be, what have you done for me lately? That's gonna be the theme of next year. It's the same thing that happened in LSU. Same thing
happened to
Franklin
James
over
Franklin at Penn State. Yeah,
It's the same thing, BC. He had those seasons where he was doing well, and then the next year he did okay, and then they said, "Oh man, we start cutting my eyes cockeyed," and then the next year he started out on the wrong foot, and they shafted him out of there. And that can happen to Prime if he don't watch out, because those golden years, if he can't rekindle that winning like he did those couple years back to back where he had a great team and was going out beating people, he gonna have to find out whether he want to coach again, because it ain't like Colorado get rid of him and he go in there into a Florida or that, because his name was surfing around a lot of these other jobs.
True.
But I don't think Dion is dumb enough to take another job. Man,
well, he got to improve upon
right
what he's got now, because, I mean, like you said, he's not doing well. According to Tony here, it says Prime has to recruit studs anywhere in the USA, and that is so true, because Prime can recruit. He's a good recruiter. I'm not saying he's a bad recruiter. It's just that obviously something is going on where these kids are not responding to some of the coaching that they're getting. And I'm not even blaming that 100% on the coaches. And it looks as though he started Julian Lewis, that's a 5-star studded quarterback that came out of Carrollton, Georgia. You remember we were all talking about him, but he never got a chance to play because of the kid out of Liberty came in. And, Caden Salter, I believe the kid's name was, and he came in and he immediately took over. But getting back to Julian Lewis looked pretty good today, they said, at quarterback, and they lost to West Virginia today, 29-22. It was a closer game than most people would have thought it would be. Now, I'm hearing rumors that, there may be some coaching changes to what Prime's going to be going with coaching next year, and it looks as though there has been alleged rumors that he has demoted Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur's a good coach. I don't have any problems with Pat Shurmur. Now, a lot of people who are involved in that program is saying that, his play calling is too predictable. The kids are not responding to it. Prime is beginning to kind of realize that, look, you gotta get the right athletes to come in there that could respond to the right coaching, I think, personally. Now, as far as demoting coaches and getting rid of coaches, a lot of coaches do it and it still doesn't fix anything. Larry Coker started that nonsense back in the day when he started losing. Remember?
Yeah.
And I can never forget.
And he gave up some really good coaches. I mean,
he did.
Coach and everything. And a couple years later, they got rid of his ugly ass. Yep. Make me sick, man.
Because when he got rid of the running backs coach, who used to be South Ridge's head coach, I was so pissed off, man. Because I just thought that he was just placing the blame game on coaches when he should have been looking within himself. I'm talking about Coker specifically.
I know what you're talking. Yeah, I agree with you.
And I just thought that he was on the clock, and I don't want Prime to get around to being on the clock? Because you can get rid of coaches, but if nothing improves from that point on, they're gonna be looking at you. And now Rick George is giving him a reinforcement that the athletic director say he's fully behind him. But we hear athletic directors say that all the time until the pressure starts. Because when you don't have the butts in the seats, that's when the athletic director has to start answering, right?
Got to. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Don Soldinger. It was Coach Soldinger that he got rid of, and I was so mad about that I couldn't believe it, man.
Yeah.
He coached all of those great running backs coming through Miami. Soldinger coached. He coached Melvin Bratton. He coached Alonzo Highsmith. Frank Gore, Willis McGahee. Why would you get rid of that man on some nonsense?
Well, he was looking for an out. He was looking for an out, and he cowardly out himself and got rid of some of the good coaches that they had in there who stayed around even after all these other coaches moved on to the NFL.
Right.
So I just thought he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and that's the reason why they really didn't want him to coach, because he had the players lobby for him to get the job. They was looking outside; they wasn't going to even hire him.
True.
They were looking for another coach somewhere, and then the players went in there and begged Donna Shalala to keep him on, and she did it.
True. Yeah, I remember that. I remember Jonathan Vilma and a lot of the players went into the office on his behalf. So, as far as Prime is concerned, where do you see this team next year? And then we'll move on to the next topic.
Well, I just really hope that Prime gather this thing, man, and cut the bleeding, because they're bleeding. DC, these guys are getting beat, and they gave up 100 and something points in 2 games several weeks ago. That's difficult to do, and for these guys to have fun with them going up and down the field scoring, dude, that's not a good feeling. And if you don't stop this, there's no way in the world that you can justify keeping a coach like that around when they're getting blown out like that.
Yeah.
There's no way.
That's what happened to Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. It happened to a lot of other coaches too, man. When you start getting blown out, whether it's at home or on the road, they gonna short order you out of there.
It's embarrassing, man. If you can't keep those BBLs in the seat, man, you're gonna be gone. Because the main thing is to keep the fan base happy and keep these guys coming to the games. And if they're not coming in the game, it's gonna be a huge revenue loss, because you think about they're not getting paid for the parking, they're not getting paid for the food, they're not getting paid for the tickets to come in there. So it's a huge loss. So they got to make a decision to get rid of you if you're not bringing the fans and nurturing their ego to be in their stadium. Yeah.
So help remind us again, what does BBL mean? Because you did mention it a few seconds ago.
Brazilian butt when they go get their rear end enhanced.
Okay. To sit in the seats in the stadium, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that took care of that. So let's move on and let's talk a little bit about where we see this chart, because this first chart, and Oregon barely pulled it out on Iowa today. I think I was under the impression that Iowa had won that game.
I thought Iowa had won that game.
So what was the difference? I think Oregon's wide receiver caught a spectacular catch, correct?
I didn't see the ending of it, but I just know the game was really tight, and I thought that Iowa had won it, but Oregon pulled it off at the end.
Right.
Yep.
So they just come out right now, and I don't know whether you can see this college football playoff bracket right now, but I saved the bracket because I wanted everybody to be able to see it, of what it would look like right now. And BYU is not going to be on it because BYU just dropped their first game today. I don't see them lasting in there. But it looks like Oregon would play Texas Tech, and Oregon is still alive. Ohio State will face the winner of that team, that game. And then you got Memphis against Georgia, and Alabama will face either one of those winners, because Alabama won handily today on the left side of the chart. Then if you look at the right side of the chart, Notre Dame and whoever else they fit in for BYU, because BYU lost. Indiana will be waiting to play those teams, and it looks like Virginia and Ole Miss would play each other, and whoever won that game would face off against Texas A&M in this playoff system. How do you feel about these teams being slotted in the way they're slotted in right now?
They matched up pretty good, DC, and I think they did a great job of doing that. Yeah, they match up pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. Right now, I was looking at some of the scores earlier, and if Indiana keeps winning, and Ohio State keeps winning, and Texas A&M keeps winning, and even I would say Texas Tech and Georgia.
Even though Indiana got a really great team, it just don't sound right.
You don't think they're for real though? You don't think, or you think when they meet a solid team that it would be different?
I think that's what's going to happen to them. I think when they run up into a real hardcore team like a Georgia or Alabama now, because Alabama is playing pretty damn solid.
So do you think Alabama is actually for real? Because I'm not completely sold on Alabama yet. Tell me why I should be sold on them.
You better get sold on them because they hadn't lost a game since they lost the first one.
Well, Notre Dame is the same way. I mean, they haven't lost one either, right?
Well, Notre Dame has lost two, though. Alabama's lost one.
Right.
So
and they're 6-0 in the SEC. They haven't lost a conference game yet.
See? Yeah, and that's what I think will happen to Indiana. Indiana sounds just like a basketball program, and
it is a best basketball program. That's what they've been known for 50 years.
It don't sound right now for them to be playing for no damn championship in football. It just don't even look right.
Well, with Kirk Cignetti there, I wouldn't never rule them out. And, you got Fernando Mendoza Jr. It's the quarterback.
I did not marginalize their play. Only thing I said is to be saying anything about Indiana. If it's not basketball, it just don't sound right. Because I've never seen them play this year. I have not. I have not seen how good their team is. The only thing I'm seeing is they keep winning. And that's the most important. But then when they get ready to be in these playoffs, I'm going to be able to see them.
Well, they're going to have to eventually face off against a solid team. I'm talking about more so Indiana as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't go and get in the championship without playing a solid team. And that's going to be that bright light that's going to shine on them to see whether they're legit or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking here. It looks like Cal beat Louisville today. So Louisville is currently 7-2, 4-2 in the ACC. Cal beat them 29-26.
See, that's the stuff that pisses me off, man. With them beating.
And Cal's record is not impressive at all. They're 6-4 and 3-3 in the ACC. So Cal hasn't jumped through any hoops to look that impressive to me, right?
No.
And, we can keep going back to that, beating on that dead horse about them beating Miami. But at the end of the day, Miami's just going to have to figure out a way to keep winning as well. And hope and pray all of the dots line up, right?
Make you lose sleep, man. When you see a team like Louisville come and beat you and then
lose against Cal
and get beat. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And they had no answer for Louisville, man. They just did not have no answer for them and dropped that game, man. God almighty.
Yeah, well, that's just the way. Sometimes that's just the way things work, right?
Well, that means if you're going to be an elite team, you surely got to beat everybody who you're supposed to beat. I can always go back to Jimmy Johnson, Spurrier when he was at Florida, Nick Saban, even Kirby Smart. These teams that they supposed to beat, they used to beat them. You can't be dropping guys, the teams that you're supposed to beat them. You can't be losing these games, man. When I looked at the University of Miami schedule, I just knew that they were going to go undefeated, man. I just knew it. I just could not believe that, especially when they beat Notre Dame coming out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
I say, well, this is the year. This is the year. I
Well,
think they're
I
gonna
thought
go
it
all
was
the way.
too. I thought it was the year as well.
Listen, man, they was head hunting out there, man. You had Bain was on the high, man. He was on the high. He was crashing these freaking quarterbacks' head, man. And all of a sudden, that stuff hit that freaking blank week where you had a bye week, and it just seemed like they just got missing in action. They didn't have that same intensity that they were playing with. They wasn't freaking just so many things that they were doing that got them there. They just went away from it. Even the play calling that they claimed that Cristobal was fussing with the offensive coordinator. That stuff like that wasn't even happening because they was out there having fun. They was running these plays and they was working and everything was like beautiful. And then they go through this bye week, and now you got the two coaches is out there expressing their emotions, you know, toward each other in a manner that it was embarrassing.
Yeah, so it looks
Oh
like
man!
Keyshawn X, who just joined us, of course, right after we were talking about this, said that Miami is back in it. So Notre Dame will
Well,
be seed 8 through 9. They lost to playoff teams and blew out the trash ones. Do you agree with that, Isaiah?
man, no. That's my team. I don't see them. I don't see any path for the Canes to be in no playoffs sitting at 18. We got to watch what's going to maneuver by Monday
Well,
because
they'll
there's been
the
some
polls will
loss.
come out tomorrow. I mean, the new
Well, let's
polling will
talk
be
about
the
this
AP
tomorrow night,
poll.
DC, because if we don't move in that top 12, we can forget about it. We got to
True.
get down to the top 12.
True. Well,
And that
BYU, with the
means
way that
to,
they got pounded today by Texas Tech, they're going to drop drastically, I would think.
where are they? Where are they
I
now?
believe they were right around 10, I believe, initially.
If they're 10, they done.
Yeah, let me look at
If
where
they're
BYU was
10,
sitting.
if BYU was 10, they are done. With that one loss, they are done.
BYU was actually
Even
sitting at 7 at 8-0. So they're going to drop out of the top 12, I would think, with that drubbing that they took
I
from
still
Texas
think they'll
Tech
drop
today.
out of the top 12, DC.
Yeah,
I still think they're going to drop out of the top 12, even
right.
if they were 7.
But Miami's still sitting at 18, so potentially I could see Miami leaping up by 3 or 4 positions. Wouldn't you say so?
Well, that's still going to put them at, what, 14 and 15? That
Mm-hmm.
ain't enough. We
Yeah.
got to let some more weeks play out and let somebody else start to lose. And they got us,
Well,
these teams going to lose.
true. True.
And then, of course, the Miami Hurricanes got to keep winning because they're getting ready to run
Well,
into North
they
Carolina
gotta
State,
play
right?
NC State this upcoming week.
Right,
But you know what?
right.
I believe they can beat NC State. As a matter of fact, I don't believe it. I think they will beat NC State. They're playing NC State at Hard Rock next Saturday, I believe. So I'm a whole out confidence and have confidence that I know that they're gonna be able to handle NC State. And then they'll just have to have help from other teams after that if they run the table on their schedule, right?
Yeah, and that's the part that I always find difficult, man. When you gotta rely on everybody else, you handle your own business. You ain't gotta look back.
Well, we've talked
Handle
about
your
that
business,
before.
and
Yeah,
you don't
we've
have to look
constantly
back.
talked
You
about
start
that.
messing around and drop a couple games, and you start crossing your fingers and crossing your eyes, and you're folding your arms and hoping that somebody else do something in your favor. And you don't have to do that when you just do your damn job. You go out there and handle your own affairs. You don't have to worry about that, man.
So they have North Carolina State next week at home, and then they are on the road against Virginia Tech, and they are on the road against Pitt. I think they can win these 3 games. I'm going to just go ahead and throw it out there. I believe they can handle these 3 games, and we'll see. It remains to be seen, but we'll see. So Man, I love college football, and I love I love the fact that we could talk about this because in about a month or so, we're not going to be able to enjoy it because it's going to be the playoffs, and then the regular season will be over, and then we'll have to wait until next season. But man, I'm going to just enjoy the moment up until the fact that this playoff rotation starts.
And the national championship is going to be held in Miami at the Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Hard Rock Stadium is going to host the national championship game.
Exactly. You know? Yeah, so let me ask you a question, and then we're going to start winding the show down. Who do you think are the front runners for the Heisman Trophy this year? They have like 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Let me look at the quarterback candidates for the Heisman Trophy. I think I had it pulled up here. The kid out of Ohio State, Julian Sayin, and you got Fernando Mendoza, of course. That's a Heisman candidate. Let me pull it back up. Because usually, you know, when we were growing up during the years, a quarterback will win it every now and then, but it was always running back centric, right? I mean, you had the Billy Sims of the world, and you had the Ricky Williams of the world.
But they were running like madmen back then, DC. I don't know any electrifying player this year that's just flat out
dominating, right?
Yeah, it just slipped my mind. The running back from and you know how crazy I am
Notre
about
Dame,
this guy.
Love.
Yes,
Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, Love.
His name has been mentioned. His name has been mentioned on this list, but it looks like it's very quarterback centric this year, of course, and you know, I respect that. You got Julian Sayin out of Ohio State. You got Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. You got Ty Simpson out of Alabama. And Ty Simpson, he's impressive. I think Ty Simpson is a very high candidate, in my opinion, to be the front runner for it because of the things he's done at Alabama. Now, you got Marcel Reed at Texas A&M. He's a dynamic quarterback. He can run. He can pass. And then you have Gunnar Stockton out of Georgia. And then you have Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver out of Miami. You know, I mean, Jeremiah Smith, to me, should be a top candidate, of course.
Yeah, but DC, his body of work is not enough, man. I love him to death. But he don't have these breakout games, man, where you electrifying, you know, the stadium. They don't have any of that, and I haven't seen it. That's why I'm going to give it a couple more weeks before I address this thing, because I don't see anybody who's breaking game. When you snap on TV on Sunday morning and you look at all the past games from Saturday night and Saturday day where this guy just broke out, I don't see any players like that. I don't see any quarterback is just dropping back throwing 80-yard bombs. None of this is going on. None of it.
Well, I can just say that youngster out of Ohio State, he's done a fantastic job. Julian Sayin, he's done a great job. I mean, and he's a young player. I think he's going to be up toward the top for that. I really do believe that, because if you look at some of the lists, and Jeremiah Love is on there, Diego Pavia, he's a good quarterback out of Vanderbilt. He's helped completely turn Vanderbilt around. And Trinidad Shamlis out of Ole Miss, who plays for Lane Kiffin. He's a dynamic dual threat quarterback as well. So I can just say this. Whoever win it is definitely going to earn it, I think, from the numbers this year and how well their team is playing. Because if you look at Julian Sayin, Ohio State is still number 1. So all they got to do is keep winning. And he keeps performing at the level that he's performing at, and there's a good chance that he will be the front runner for it, right?
Yeah.
And he's a Southern California kid, by the way, saying this.
That winning, with him winning like that, they might issue the thing to him. But other than that, I don't see.
Well, Fernando Mendoza, too, is undefeated under Indiana. So you can't count him out. So 1 and 2, first team quarterback is undefeated, and then you got the second team quarterback. I mean, the number 2 candidate is definitely a possibility for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and he's from Solana Beach, California, Carlsbad High School. Carlsbad is down near the San Diego area down there. And they got some really talented kids down there that can play, man. You remember Tar Marinovich? You remember him back in the day? He played for USC, and then he played for the Raiders once he got drafted. They call him Marijuanovich back in the day because they say he smoked so much weed when he was over at USC back at that time. But his father, Marv Marinovich, was so strict on him when he was growing up as a youngster. He groomed him to play quarterback. He made him eat certain types of foods. He wouldn't let him eat fast food. He put him on a weight training program because I think the senior Marinovich was the strength and conditioning coach for the Raiders at the time. So he saw a future in his son, and he did make it to the NFL, but he didn't last. So that's what I'm saying about that area of Southern California. He played down there as well, you know.
Yeah.
So it looks like Tony says here, Earl Campbell is my all-time favorite Heisman winner. I agree with that. Wouldn't you say? Who is your all-time favorite Heisman winner, Isaiah?
I don't know. It's probably another Texan as in Ricky Williams, man. Ricky Williams was a stud, man. And then I like Dorsett. Remember, I used to be crazy about Dorsett as a kid, man. Dorsett used to be, man, he was bringing home the bacon, bro. Yeah, it's just so many of them is, running back wise, it's between Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams, man. And then they had
and they both went to UT. They both went to University of Texas, right?
Right. And you know who was a brutal running back too and I used to love? Ron Dane. That dude used to crush your head, man. Remember him out of Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah. How could I forget him? I think Ron Dane was from the Atlanta area, too. I want to say that he was from Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to, when they mentioned his name, I used to always think about Great Dane. When Ron Dane took that ball, he was like a Great Dane. He used to run that mail, brother.
Well, he was a big running back for his time. I mean, for his size.
Yes.
We talked about Chuck Muncie in the first part one of this episode.
Who he used to remind me of? Andre Franklin. Remember
Andre Franklin used to be toting that mail,
Ron
man.
Dane remind me of him. Ron Dane remind me of Andre Franklin. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I'll correct myself on that. It looks like Ron Dane went to Overbrook High School in New Jersey. For some reason, they had a person out of Atlanta that played at Wisconsin, but it wasn't Ron Dane. Yeah, he definitely played in New Jersey. And Andre Franklin is one of my favorite running backs.
Man, because I'm gonna tell you another thing too, man. I used to love Herschel too. Herschel used to run that ball too, not DC. Herschel Walker used to run that thing
Walker
too.
Wasn't nothing nice. But then you got to mention Bo Jackson. Bo knows, right?
Yeah, Bo and
Bo, you don't know Diddley, but Bo knew Diddley when he was on that field, right?
Marcus Dupree. Man, Marcus Dupree was bad too now. Marcus Dupree used to tote that thing too.
Yeah, you're right. Billy Sims. We could keep going. We could talk to the rest of the end of time about some of these players that won these championships.
Billy Sims remind me of a Cadillac, man. Not Cadillac Williams, but a car Cadillac. Because he was just as smooth as a Lexus when he ran the ball, man. He was amazing. I mean, and then his style when he would show out in hot dog when he got the ball, especially when he was getting ready to score, man. I would never, ever, ever forget when they were playing Florida State,
right?
Oh, man, that game. When they had J.C. Watts and Billy Sims, man, that game as a kid is such memorable, man. And that Orange Bowl was electrifying, and that place was rocking in that stadium, man. And I could hear that commentator, because remember the commentator when we used to go to Orange Bowl, he did the high school, college, and the Dolphins game, and hear his voice. and then Florida State was plugging at it. They thought they had Oklahoma down, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And then J.C. Watts broke contain with that wishbone, and Billy Sims trailed him all the way down to like the 10 to 15-yard line.
And he
And
pitched
that DB turned around and freaking shot J.C. Watts low. And on the way to the ground, he pitched that
He
ball.
pitched
to
it, and
Billy
it was the end.
Sims,
That was history, right?
Right. Yes, man.
And
Yes.
Florida State had Ron Simmons back there. You remember Ron Simmons, right?
Man,
Ron Simmons ended up he wrestled for a little while, I want to say, as well.
Yes, I remember Ron Simmons, man. His chest was wide as hell.
Yeah,
man.
he was like a
fan.
bodybuilder and a wrestler and all that stuff in one.
Yep.
Back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
we talked about all of the greats and the legends of Heisman Trophy winners, and let's do this. Let's get together and put together a top 10 Heisman Trophy list of running backs. And you know who I'm going to go ahead and give that to? I'm going to give that to Freebird Tony and let him put together a list for us for the top 10 Heisman running backs of all time. Because I know we've done a running backs list in the NFL, but let's do one for the Heisman. Yeah. So, Tony, get ready because we're going to be waiting on your list so we can go over it. And you know what? We'll have you on the show, Tony, to kind of discuss with us how you arrived at these Heisman Trophy winners being the top 10, and we'll go from there. So we will definitely get ready and close this show out. Since you mentioned Florida State, Isaah, one last thing. Do you think Mike Norvell would be returning from Florida State? Will he be returning to Florida State after this year? Because they got beat by Clemson today, correct?
Yeah. I'm going to use a phrase that Herbert Walker Bush used to use. Read my lips. And that's no.
I would never forget that H.W. Bush quote.
Listen, man, listen, he gone, bro. It ain't no way in the world. They only let him stay right now just pure out of respect to him. They're going to get rid of him. It's no way in the world those boosters going to put up with this stuff, man. It ain't no BBLs in the seats. He's getting embarrassed like this. He's got sustained losses right now. Listen, it almost looked like that winning season was a fluke now, DC. Remember?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yes.
So
yeah, it does.
He's not returning.
Yeah, I don't see him coming back. And that's going to be a very attractive job for any coach who want to really get a lot of exposure, because Florida State, it's just the legacy of that program is just, to me, it matches up against a lot of teams, the Notre Dames to me, and just the history. And with Bobby Bowden staying there as long as he did and all the championships that he won and the legacy that he left behind, it's that Florida State job going to be the job for anybody. Yeah. Florida's going to be attractive too, but
not like the Florida State
not
job.
Like that Florida State. That Florida State job is definitely in a class all by itself.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap this show up. We thank you for joining us tonight. We're having so much fun. We have our guy Freebird Tony with us, and he rolling with us every time we do a show. Yeah. We love you, brother. We love you here, and you always welcome here. And you're a part of what we're doing every week. And we're going to be adding some more shows on. I know during the week people work, and people, especially the daytime, we do Monday mornings, but we're going to be looking to do more evening type of shows where, just like we're doing tonight, where everybody who's available can join us and talk about football and talk about sports, because that's what we love talking about as a group. And we miss Najee tonight, and Najee's going to be back with us, so he'll be talking with us about a whole bunch of different sports subjects, because I know Kevin Durant and all them guys got in a fight just a couple of days ago, and then they played San Antonio, the Spurs, and they got handled by the Spurs. So we definitely want to hear Najee's approach on all of that. So look forward to us, and we thank you for, like I say, joining us again. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it with all your friends. I'm meeting people on a daily basis, and they look at our show and they say they love it. We have an international audience that love what we're doing, and we're just gonna keep going up and up and up into the stratosphere, and we're gonna bring back old memories about these football games and these athletes who played in the past, because we got to bring the past forward to the future, and that's what I love doing, being able to intermix them both together. You got anything to close us out with tonight, Isaiah?
Well, just normal stuff, man. I'm gratified. I'm amazed that things are going well with the show. I'm really happy with the audience that we're gathering around the world, man. And it's good. It's something that we want to do together as buddies and partners and stuff like that. And everything coming to fruition, and the addition of Najee coming in and helping us out and being a part of the program and the family that we, accrue now. And Freebird Tony is amazing, man. He's got solid, and he's always giving his input, and we love it, man. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of folks that's really telling us just how things are, and how you know our show is, because they're loving the entertainment aspect of it, because there's a lot of negative things going on, but when you come to this show,
You
man,
gonna
we
have some
just digging
positivity,
in.
baby.
We just having some fun,
We
man. We
having
might
fun.
use a little bit of choice words every now and then when somebody do something stupid or say something stupid, and we chime in on it, but that's about it. This is a family show, man, and it's all about family. And I want to reach out and tell you about the law enforcement issue that happened here in South Florida again, and the thing that happened with Erik Spoelstra, man. You guys lift up these folks in prayer, because they're going through crisis right now. So as a
Absolutely.
family and a community, we got to join hands and weed out that negativity and all of that wickedness that's happening, and love on each other a little bit. So tell your friends, your family, your co-workers, your neighbors, all of them, that we're on. Come join the family. We're gonna watch the
Absolutely.
Dolphins tomorrow.
You couldn't have said it any better, and I will second that of everything you said earlier. We hope everybody else have a great weekend, rest of your weekend. We still got Sunday in front of us. If you're in a place where good weather, enjoy that weather, because that weather is going to only be here temporarily until it starts to get cold, depending on where you are in the country. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of your physical health, your mental health. And if you need help, reach out and ask for it. Don't hesitate to do that. If you want us to help you from here, just let us know. We're always open to helping people, no matter how you look at it or how you shape it. So in the meantime, we'll see you soon. Take care of yourself. Peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy.